Every office has one. The person who doesn't quite fit in. The one who shows up on the first day with second-hand shoes and a nervous smile. The one who eats lunch alone, keeps their head down and never stays for after-work drinks. But in the sprawling downtown Chicago offices of Apex Marketing, the new hire was different in a way that made everyone uncomfortable. His name was Daniel. And he wore the same jacket every single day. Not a stylish jacket. Not a vintage jacket that screamed ironic cool. It was a faded navy blue zip-up fleece, pilling at the cuffs, with a small tear near the left pocket that had been stitched back together with thread that didn't quite match. Week 1 people noticed. Week 2 people whispered. By week 3 they were laughing. Behind his back, of course. Because Daniel was polite, quiet, hard-working. He said good morning to everyone. He remembered names. He never complained. But he wore that jacket. Every single day. In July, when the Chicago heat made the office air conditioning struggle, Daniel wore the jacket. In September, when the weather turned crisp and everyone else pulled out their autumn coats, Daniel wore the same jacket. In December, when the snow piled up against the office windows and employees wrapped themselves in expensive wool scarves and puffer vests, Daniel walked in wearing the same faded blue fleece. And they laughed. They laughed in the break room. They laughed in the group chat. They laughed at happy hour. Hey, did Dan the Jacket Man remember to wear his jacket today? Maybe it's a fashion statement. Like ironic poverty chic. I bet he sleeps in that thing. One woman, her name was Chloe from accounting, started a betting pool. $20 to whoever could get Daniel to admit why he never took the jacket off. Nobody won. Because Daniel never explained himself. He just smiled, nodded, and kept working. And that made them laugh even harder. But here's the thing about laughter. Sometimes it's a shield. Sometimes, it's what people do when they don't want to see what's right in front of them. Because if they had looked closer, if they had really looked, they might have noticed something. The jacket wasn't just old. It was a uniform. And the man wearing it wasn't just a quiet new hire. He was a hero who had forgotten how to take off his armor. Keep listening. Because what they found out would change every single person in that office forever. And by the end of this story, you're going to ask yourself a question. A question that might just change how you see the person sitting next to you right now. Let's begin. Daniel Martinez was 34 years old when he walked through the glass doors of Apex Marketing for the first time. He was 5'9", with dark hair that was starting to gray at the temples, brown eyes that seemed tired in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep, and hands that were calloused in a way that didn't match a marketing job. His resume was unremarkable. 3 years at a small firm in Indiana. A degree from a state school. No social media presence to speak of. No LinkedIn recommendations. No personal brand. In a company full of ambitious strivers who posted their every achievement on Instagram and networked like their lives depended on it, Daniel was a ghost. He got the job because the hiring manager, a frazzled woman named Patricia, was desperate. The junior analyst position had been open for 6 weeks. The qualified candidates wanted too much money. The unqualified candidates wanted too much attention. Daniel showed up on time, answered every question correctly, and asked for exactly the salary they were offering. Patricia hired him on the spot. "Welcome to Apex," she said, shaking his hand. "You start Monday." Daniel smiled. It was a small smile. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Thank you," he said. "I won't let you down." And he didn't. Not in the work anyway. Daniel was meticulous. His spreadsheets were flawless. His reports were submitted early. He caught errors that senior analysts had missed. He found ways to streamline processes that had been inefficient for years. By all objective measures, he was the best junior analyst the company had hired in a decade. But Daniel had one problem. The jacket. He wore it on his first day. Over a plain white button-down shirt that was slightly too big for him. With khaki pants that had been ironed so many times the crease had a crease. Patricia noticed. But she didn't say anything. She was too busy. The other employees noticed too. And they had plenty to say. By the end of Daniel's first week, the jacket had become the unofficial mascot of the office. Every morning, like clockwork, Daniel would walk through the glass doors at 8:47 a.m. Not 8:30. Not 9 o'clock. 8:47. Exactly. He would nod at the receptionist, swipe his badge and walk to his cubicle. And every morning, without fail, he was wearing the blue fleece. The first person to comment was Marcus, a senior account executive who had been at Apex for 8 years and thought this made him the unofficial mayor of the office. "Yo, Daniel," Marcus called out one morning loud enough for everyone to hear. "You know they make other colors, right? Like black exists, gray exists, They even make this crazy thing called a sweater. A few people laughed. Daniel paused, looked at Marcus, smiled his small smile. I like this one, he said quietly. And then he walked to his cubicle. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because Marcus was bored. And Marcus had a following. Within 2 weeks, the jacket had its own nickname. The Blanket. Because, as Marcus explained to anyone who would listen, it looks like something you'd wear to sleep in a bus station. Within 3 weeks, someone started a shared photo album on the company Slack channel. Every time Daniel walked by, someone would snap a picture of the jacket and post it with a caption. Day 15, the blanket returns. Day 18, is it fused to his skin yet? Day 22, I think I saw it move on its own. Daniel never responded to the messages. Never complained to HR. Never even seemed to notice. But here's what no one understood. Daniel noticed everything. He noticed that Marcus hadn't spoken to his wife on the phone in 2 weeks, even though he used to call her every day at lunch. He noticed that Chloe from accounting had started crying in the bathroom every afternoon at 3:15 p.m., right after she got off the phone with what sounded like a doctor's office. He noticed that Patricia, the hiring manager, had stopped eating lunch entirely and was surviving on black coffee and stress. He noticed all of it. He just didn't say anything. Because Daniel had learned something in the years before Apex. Something that had cost him everything. He had learned that most people don't want to be seen. They want to be invisible. And the kindest thing you can do for them is to let them stay that way. But the jacket was different. The jacket was not invisible. The jacket was a question mark that everyone in that office was desperate to answer. And the answer, when it finally came, would break every single one of them. It was Chloe who decided to find out the truth. Not because she was cruel. Chloe was actually one of the kinder people in the office. She was the one who organized birthday cards. She brought donuts on Fridays. She remembered everyone's coffee order. But Chloe had put $20 into the betting pool. And more than that, she was curious. The jacket had become an obsession. She found herself staring at it during meetings, trying to find clues. Was it a military thing? Daniel didn't walk like a soldier. He didn't talk like one either. Was it a religious thing? He didn't wear any symbols. He didn't mention church. Was it a poverty thing? Daniel drove a reliable but old sedan. He packed his lunch every day. He never joined the team for expensive happy hours. Maybe he just couldn't afford another jacket. Chloe decided to do some digging. She started with the employee file. Basic stuff. Address. Emergency contact. Daniel lived in a small apartment on the south side of Chicago. The kind of neighborhood that was slowly being gentrified but hadn't quite made it yet. His emergency contact was listed as Rosa Martinez. His mother. No red flags. Then Chloe checked his social media. Or rather, she tried to. Daniel didn't have Facebook. Didn't have Instagram. Didn't have Twitter. The only thing she found was a LinkedIn profile with a single photo, the same photo that was on his employee badge, and no activity for 4 years. It was like Daniel had appeared out of thin air 6 months ago. Like the years before Apex didn't exist. That's when Chloe noticed something strange. On Daniel's desk, tucked behind his monitor, was a photograph. She'd seen it 100 times but never really looked at it. It was small. Faded. The kind of photo you print at a drugstore kiosk. It showed 2 people. Daniel, younger, without the gray hair, without the tired eyes, smiling a real smile. And next to him, a woman. Pretty. Dark hair. Her arm linked through his. They were standing in front of a house. A small house. A first home kind of house. Chloe stared at the photo for a long time. Who was the woman? Where was she now? Why did Daniel keep her picture hidden behind his monitor instead of on display like everyone else? Chloe didn't have answers. But she had a new theory. The jacket wasn't about poverty. It wasn't about laziness. It wasn't about fashion. The jacket was about grief. And the more Chloe thought about it, the more she realized something else. She had been crying in the bathroom at 3:15 p.m. every day for 3 months. And Daniel had never said a word. He had never asked. He had never pried. He had just left a cup of tea on her desk every morning. Chamomile. With a little note that said, "Have a good day." Chloe felt a knot form in her stomach. She had put $20 into a betting pool to mock a man who had been leaving her tea every single morning. She had to know the truth. So she decided to ask him. It was a Friday afternoon. The office was emptying out. Most people had left early for happy hour. Marcus was already 3 drinks in somewhere in River North. Patricia was in her office, door closed, staring at her computer screen like it held the secrets to the universe. Chloe found Daniel at his desk, packing up his bag. The jacket was zipped up to his chin. "Hey," she said. Her voice came out shakier than she intended. Daniel looked up. "Hey, Chloe. You need something?" She sat on the edge of the cubicle wall. I wanted to ask you something." "Okay." She took a breath. "The jacket. Why do you wear it every day?" Daniel didn't flinch. Didn't look away. He just looked at her with those tired brown eyes and said nothing for a long moment. Then he reached up and unzipped the jacket. Just a few inches. Beneath the collar of his white button-down shirt, Chloe saw something. A scar. A thick, raised purple scar that ran from his collarbone down toward his chest, disappearing under his shirt. It looked like a burn. Or maybe a surgical scar. It was impossible to tell. Chloe's mouth went dry. "The jacket," Daniel said quietly, "covers the scars." He didn't say it with anger. He didn't say it with self-pity. He said it like he was explaining the weather. Chloe felt tears prick her eyes. "What happened?" Daniel looked at the photograph behind his monitor. The one with the woman. The pretty woman with the dark hair. "Her name was Elena," he said. "She was my wife." He reached for the photograph and turned it so Chloe could see it better. "That was our house. We bought it 6 months after the wedding. We were going to fix it up together. Paint the nursery. Plant a garden." Chloe's heart stopped. "Nursery?" "She was pregnant," Daniel said. 12 weeks. We had just found out the gender. It was going to be a girl." Chloe couldn't breathe. "Daniel, what happened?" He zipped the jacket back up. Slowly. Carefully. Like he was putting on armor. "There was a fire," he said. "Electrical. Started in the basement while we were sleeping. I woke up to the smoke alarm. I tried to get to her. But the hallway was already gone." He paused. Swallowed. "I got her out. But I went back in for the baby's things. The ultrasound photos. The little shoes we had just bought." He looked at Chloe. And for the first time she saw tears in his eyes. "I shouldn't have gone back. The ceiling collapsed. I was trapped for 45 minutes. They got me out. But the damage was done." Chloe was crying now. Tears streaming down her face. "Elena survived," Daniel continued. "But she couldn't look at me after that. Not because she didn't love me. Because every time she saw my scars she saw the fire. She saw what we lost. She left 6 months later." He touched the sleeve of the jacket. "This was her favorite. She bought it for me on our first anniversary. I wear it because it's the only thing I have left that still smells like her. And because I don't want people to see what's underneath." Chloe sat in silence for a long time. Then she stood up, walked around the cubicle wall and hugged him. Daniel stiffened at first. Then he relaxed. And for the first time in 3 years he let someone hold him. Chloe didn't tell anyone what Daniel had told her. Not because she was protecting him. Because she was ashamed. Ashamed of herself. Ashamed of every joke she had laughed at. Ashamed of the betting pool. Ashamed of being part of something that had made a man who had already lost everything feel like he had to hide even more. But secrets have a way of coming out. The following Monday Marcus walked into the office hungover and loud. He spotted Daniel at his desk, wearing the jacket as always, and decided to make a show of it. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced to the open floor plan, "the blanket has returned for another thrilling episode. Will he ever take it off? Will we ever see what's underneath? Place your bets now." A few people laughed. But not as many as before. Something had shifted. Daniel didn't look up. He just kept typing. Marcus wasn't done. "Come on, Dan. Just tell us. Is it a Superman thing? Do you have a cape under there? Or is it just a really, really bad fashion choice?" Chloe stood up from her desk. Her hands were shaking. "Marcus," she said. Her voice was quiet. But everyone heard it. Marcus turned. "Yeah, Chloe? You got a theory?" "He wears the jacket because he has scars," Chloe said. "Burn scars. From a fire that killed his unborn daughter and destroyed his marriage." The office went silent. Marcus's face went pale. "What?" Chloe walked toward him. She wasn't crying now. She was angry. "He wears the jacket because his wife bought it for him before everything fell apart. He wears it because it's the only thing he has left. And he wears it because people like you made him feel like he had to hide what happened to him." She turned to face the rest of the office. "We made fun of him. We laughed at him. We started a betting pool. And he never complained. He never went to HR. He just kept showing up. And every morning, he left a cup of tea on my desk because he noticed I was crying in the bathroom." She looked back at Marcus. "So go ahead. Make another joke. Tell me how funny it is." Marcus didn't say anything. He just stood there, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. And then, from across the office, Patricia's door opened. She had heard everything. Patricia walked out of her office. Her face was unreadable. She looked at Marcus, then at Chloe, then at Daniel, who had stopped typing and was sitting perfectly still, his hand resting on the sleeve of his jacket. "Daniel," Patricia said. "My office. Now." Daniel stood up. He didn't look at anyone as he walked past them. He just kept his eyes forward and walked. Marcus tried to say something. "Patricia, I didn't." "Not another word," Patricia said. Her voice was ice. "Not one more word." She closed her office door behind Daniel. For 20 minutes no one moved. The office was frozen. People stared at their screens without seeing them. Marcus sat at his desk with his head in his hands. Chloe wiped her eyes with a tissue. When Patricia's door finally opened, she and Daniel walked out together. Patricia looked at the office. "I'm going to say this once," she said. "Daniel's personal history is his own. But I will tell you this much. The man you've been mocking for 6 months is the hardest working employee in this building. He has caught errors that saved this company thousands of dollars. He has stayed late to help colleagues who didn't even say thank you. He has shown more grace in the face of cruelty than any of you deserve." She looked directly at Marcus. "The betting pool ends now. The jokes end now. And if I ever hear anyone in this office make a comment about anyone's appearance again, you will be looking for a new job before the sun sets. Am I clear?" A chorus of quiet yes responses. Patricia turned to Daniel. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have noticed. I should have said something. I failed you." Daniel shook his head. "You didn't fail me. You gave me a job when no one else would. That's not failure. That's everything." He walked back to his cubicle, sat down, and went back to work. But something had changed. Because that afternoon, Chloe walked to Daniel's desk and handed him an envelope. "What's this?" he asked. $20, she said. "I won the betting pool. But I don't want it. I want you to have it." Daniel looked at the envelope, then at Chloe. "Buy yourself a new jacket," she said. "Or don't. It's your choice. But whatever you do, don't hide anymore. You don't have to." Daniel looked at the envelope for a long time. Then he put it in his drawer. "I'll think about it," he said. Over the next few weeks, things changed at Apex Marketing. Not overnight. Not dramatically. But slowly, like ice melting. Marcus came to Daniel's desk one morning. He didn't make a joke. He didn't say anything clever. He just stood there, shifting his weight from foot to foot, looking like a man who had swallowed glass. "Hey," Marcus finally said. "I'm sorry. I was a jerk. A huge jerk. I didn't know." Daniel looked up. "You didn't ask." Marcus flinched. "You're right. I didn't. I just assumed. I made a game out of someone's life because I was bored and insecure and I'm sorry." Daniel studied him for a moment. Then he nodded. "Thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anything I can do?" Marcus asked. "Anything at all?" Daniel thought about it. "Yeah, there is." "Name it." "Next time you see someone who doesn't fit in, don't make fun of them. Ask them why. And then listen." Marcus nodded. He walked back to his desk. And for the first time in 8 years he called his wife. Not to check in. To apologize. For not listening. Meanwhile, Chloe started something new. Every Friday she sent out a company-wide email. It wasn't about deadlines or projects or quarterly goals. It was a simple list. 3 things she appreciated about 3 different people in the office. Week 1 she wrote about Daniel. "I appreciate Daniel for noticing when someone is struggling and doing something kind about it, even when no one is watching." Week 2 she wrote about Patricia. "I appreciate Patricia for standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable." Week 3 she wrote about Marcus. "I appreciate Marcus for having the courage to apologize." The emails became a thing. People started looking forward to them. People started trying to earn them. And Daniel? Daniel still wore the jacket. But something was different. He started taking it off at his desk. Just for an hour. Then 2. Then the whole afternoon. The scars were still there. They weren't going anywhere. But Daniel had stopped hiding them. And one day a new hire walked into the office. A young man named Tyler. He was nervous. He was wearing a second-hand blazer that was too big for him. And he was sweating through his shirt because he was terrified. Marcus walked up to him. The old Marcus would have made a joke. Would have sized him up and found him wanting. But Marcus wasn't the old Marcus anymore. "Hey," Marcus said, extending his hand. "Welcome to Apex. I'm Marcus. You want to grab coffee? I'll show you around." Tyler looked relieved. Yeah, that would be great. As they walked to the break room, Tyler tugged at his blazer. I know this thing is ridiculous. It was my dad's. He passed away last year. I don't know. It makes me feel like he's still here. Marcus looked at the blazer. Then at Tyler. It's not ridiculous, Marcus said. It's brave. Wear it as long as you need to. From his desk, Daniel watched. And for the first time in 3 years he smiled. A real smile. The kind that reaches the eyes. A year later, Daniel was promoted to senior analyst. At his going-away party, because the promotion came with a transfer to a different branch, the entire office gathered in the conference room. There was cake. There was a card signed by everyone. There were tears. Patricia gave a speech. A year ago, she said, I hired a man who wore the same jacket every day. I didn't ask why. I didn't wonder. I just saw a resume and a handshake and moved on. She looked at Daniel. I didn't know that the man I hired had survived a fire that took everything from him. I didn't know that he had scars on his body and deeper scars on his heart. I didn't know that he came to work every day carrying a weight that would have crushed most people. She paused. But I learned something from him. I learned that the people who are easiest to mock are often the ones who need kindness the most. I learned that a jacket isn't just a jacket. Sometimes it's a shield. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes, it's the only thing holding someone together. She raised her coffee cup. To Daniel. For teaching us that courage isn't about taking off the jacket. It's about putting it on every single day and showing up anyway. Everyone raised their cups. Daniel stood up. He was wearing the jacket. Of course he was. I have something to tell you, he said. The room went quiet. I got a call last week, Daniel said. From Elena. My ex-wife. Chloe gasped. She's been in therapy. A lot of therapy. And she wanted me to know that she's finally ready. Ready to talk. Ready to try again. He touched the sleeve of the jacket. I'm not saying we're getting back together. I don't know what's going to happen. But for the first time in 4 years, I have something to look forward to. He looked around the room. At Patricia. At Chloe. At Marcus. At all the people who had laughed at him and then learned to love him. And I wanted to say thank you. To all of you. Because I didn't think I deserved to be happy. I didn't think I deserved a second chance. But you showed me that everyone deserves a second chance. Even someone who wears the same jacket every day. So here's what I want you to think about. Right now, in your office, your classroom, your neighborhood, your family, there is someone wearing a jacket. Maybe it's not a literal jacket. Maybe it's a smile that never quite reaches their eyes. Maybe it's a joke they tell too often. Maybe it's a silence that feels heavier than words. But there is someone. Someone who is hiding something. Someone who is carrying a weight you can't see. Someone who shows up every day and puts on their armor just like Daniel just so they can make it through. And maybe, just maybe, you've laughed at them. Or judged them. Or dismissed them as weird or awkward or not quite good enough. So here's my question for you. What if the person you've been mocking is the very person who needs you the most? And what if the jacket they're wearing isn't a weakness, but the bravest thing you've ever failed to see? Think about it. Because the next time you see someone who doesn't fit in, you have a choice. You can laugh. Or you can ask. And then you can listen. And that small act of kindness might just change everything.